Awesome. All right, so to start the class today, the first thing we'll want to do is obviously sign into our command account. All right, so once we're inside our command account on here, this is where we can access pretty much anything and everything. All right, so at the end of the day, once we're inside agent.cative.com, the first thing we'll want to do is click on our name up here at the top right. All right, so once we click on our name at the top right on here, all right, before we even start an ad, we want to go through and make sure that we have our Facebook account linked up properly. All right, so once I click on my name up here, all right, now I'm going to click on the settings option. So let's go and click on that settings section to make sure this is set up properly. There we go. All right, looks like it's thinking right now. There we go. All right, so I always suggest starting with this because at the end of the day, whenever you're going through and you're creating anything inside command, the first thing I always suggest is really double checking on all your additional settings on here to make sure everything is up and running properly. All right, because at the end of the day, especially in this case, having all of your connected applications is going to make your life a lot easier. And then of course, in most items, like if you're trying to create a smart plan, if you're wanting to update your website, whatever it may be, having the marketing profile set up is going to be your best friend too. All right, so once we're on here, the two big items I always suggest taking a look at, so we're going to scroll down, specifically in the Facebook portion, is going to be Facebook post scheduling. All right, now this is actually going to be how you can connect to your account if you want to post out anything on your page. Now that's the one big difference, right? This is going to post on your page. It's not going to post over on your actual profile or anything of that sort. So if you go to facebook.com and then you actually click on your profile, that's going to be your personal profile that you're going to interact with your friends. All right, your Facebook page is going to be the page where people can actually like it to interact with you. All right, so make sure that you are connecting this page on here. So once you click on connect account, then it'll allow you to sign into your Facebook account to link up your proper page on here. All right, so if I go through, let me see if I can find my page real quick. Awesome. All right, so once you sign in, I'm going to connect that just to connect it real quick on here. All right, and then that'll allow me to actually post out free items over to my Facebook page. So very similar to yourself signing into Facebook, just posting on a brand new listing, a new update, a new article, a new image, video. All right, whatever you can actually do from Facebook directly, you can actually do over here as well. So now you'll be able to post that out through your designs backend. All right, I'm sorry, my apologies, your campaigns backend. All right, so now once we scroll down a little bit further, then we can actually see our marketing automation on here. Now this is the big one that we'll want to focus on. All right, so under marketing automation on here, this is where we can actually specify, right, we want to link up our Facebook page. Now, one thing to note about the Facebook page, especially for the ads manager, you have to be an admin of the page in order for this to work properly. All right, so whenever you are going through and you're connecting your page, make sure that you are an admin on there. All right, so I just want to give you a heads up on that. And once again, I'll pull this up on my actual page just so we can get an idea as to what the difference is between a page and a profile. All right, so this is going to be my ScottLeroyMarketing.com page. All right, so as we can see on here, this is where I can actually go through. People can like it. I can post out on here as well too. All right, so these are all the additional items that are accessible. All right, and then on the left-hand side, I can actually see all my edit options as well too. All right, and this is where I can actually view if I am the admin, all right, or if I'm just an editor. So make sure that you have the role of admin in order to utilize this for your ads backend. All right, so all you have to do on here is click that connect account, and then you can once again link up with your page directly. All right, so it'll be that simple to access everything on here. And as long as you have this set as connected, all right, it'll say connected, then it'll show how many accounts you have connected on here. You're perfect. Now, one of the biggest questions that we always receive is I've connected my account and it's showing that I'm connected with my personal profile, but I want to be connected with my Facebook page. How do I get it connected with my Facebook page? Well, it's always going to show that you're connected with your personal profile. All right, that's just because that's the account that your Facebook page is under. All right, so for Facebook, you're going to have the personal profile, and then you can also create the page under that same account. All right, so when I actually log into my Facebook account, I can not only see my personal profile, I can see my news feed, my timeline, all the standard stuff, but then I can also access the pages directly too. All right, so whenever you sign in, you're more than likely going to link this with your actual personal account. All right, so as long as it says connected one account on here, and then if we scroll up, you can see under the applications, connected one account as well. Under Facebook post scheduling, we are perfect. That's the other thing I want to point out is that on the applications, it'll show your connected applications. For some reason, the Facebook Ads Manager does not pop up to the top like the other ones do. All right, so if you're not seeing your Facebook Ad Manager at the top up here under Connected Apps, just scroll down and more than likely it'll be connected down here under Marketing Automation. All right, so the main item that we're working on today, obviously, is going to be the Facebook ads section, but I always like to point this out. You know, whenever I get a chance and I can kind of double dip everything, I want to show you guys some extra items that you can do on here too. So that's why I definitely wanted to point out that Facebook posting option. All right, and that's the other big difference too, is this Facebook Ads Manager is going to be a paid option instead. All right, whereas the Facebook post scheduler is just you posting directly to your page, and that's completely free. That's going to go after anyone that's actually liked your page. All right, so now we have just kind of the basic setup on here. All right, so we've got our Facebook Ad Manager connected. We even have our Facebook Post Scheduler connected on here too. All right, now we can actually access everything under our campaign section. So let's click on the campaigns over here on the left-hand side. All right, and a couple questions came in while I was going through this. So team setting, Rainmaker asking, or personal profile. So in this case, completely up to you. So if you're going through the settings on here, it'll actually just be connected to the personal profile. I just want to give you a heads up on that. Even if you're linked up under the team setting on here, it'll mainly be the personal one. And then another question, are we able to link our Instagram to command? So for the Facebook ads side, the good part is if you are linked with Instagram, since Instagram is owned by Facebook, if you have those interconnected, you'll actually be able to post out whenever we're creating an ad, a paid ad, not just a post, but a paid ad on command. You'll actually be able to utilize the Instagram option too. There's not an option where you can go through and actually post directly onto Instagram quite yet, but I know that's one of the biggest features a lot of agents have been asking about in ideas.kw.com. All right, but right now you will be able to just post directly over to Facebook, or you can actually do an ad for Facebook or Instagram. All right. So the next thing we're going to do now, so I saw a question came in, how do we get to the current screen? Well, we're actually leaving that screen right now, so no worries. So the next thing we're going to do, I like to click on the KW button up here at the top left. That's my own little trick I like to do. I'm more of a visual person. I love seeing the words on here instead of just the icons. All right, so we're going to go to the campaign section. All right, so let's click on the campaign section real quick. All right, now under our campaign section on here, this is where we can actually create this new Facebook ad. All right, so at the end of the day, our goal on here is to create this hopefully as easy as possible. And the best part is KW's made it very simple for you to create an ad as quickly as possible. So unlike going through Facebook directly where it's going to ask a bunch of additional items, it's going to keep everything as easy as it can be so you can actually make this ad as quickly as you can. Now, one thing that I always like to point out, it's a little bit different than it is on Facebook ads. So if you previously were creating Facebook ads and now you're doing it over on command to take advantage of obviously the Keller Williams partnership with Facebook. All right, the one big difference I always like to point out is on Facebook, if you're making an ad, it can sometimes be approved as quickly as a couple minutes. All right, on command, it's going to take approximately 24 hours. So that's the one big thing to note on there. So I always like to tell people, make sure that if you are creating this ad, especially if it's a time-sensitive one, say for instance, you're making it for an open house, or this is for a preview or whatever it might be, and you want to get this out before it's actually active on the MLS, take into account it's going to take about 24 hours to launch. So whatever we add in today, if you decide to create an ad, it would probably launch tomorrow. All right, so that's the one thing I always like to point out on here. All right, so once we're in the back end of our campaign section, this is where we can access pretty much all of our different campaigns. We'll have our dashboard. We're going to have our paid ads, which is what we're going to focus on next. We'll have the email option. So if you ever want to just send out an email, you can do that from here. You also have your direct mail option, right? So if you want to send any type of postcard mail out, you can do that. And then of course, even the social post. And this is going back to where we add inside that Facebook post scheduler. All right. Now, one other big thing to note is you will want to click on the payments option up here at the top right to add inside your payment. All right, so you will need to add inside your credit card on here. All right, then it'll actually have the last 4 digits, when it expires, all the normal stuff for a credit card. This will actually allow you to then purchase those ads from Facebook on command directly. All right, so make sure you add inside that credit card on here. That's why I always like to point this out, because at the end of the day, this is going to be a paid ad. So you're actually paying each time someone clicks on this or each time someone views it, whatever it may be. Now, in this case, it's going to be each time someone clicks on it. So I always like to point that out. I'm not going to walk you through how to add inside the credit card or anything like that. Sorry. But in this case, I'm going to click on the create a new campaign option on here. All right, in case you need help, this is where you can click on the add payment method. All right, so I'm going to click on create a new campaign up here at the top right. All right, so once we click on create a new campaign on here, now we're going to see 5 different options what we can actually do. So that's why I wanted to talk about those items at the top up there, because this is where we can actually access them. So this is where we can create that social ad for Facebook or for Instagram. All right, this is where we can go through and create that search ad where it'll actually be seen over on Google. All right, so this is the Google AdWords option. This is where you can create your social post where you can just post it out directly onto Facebook. This is where you can do your direct mail piece, your email. All right, so we're just going to focus on social ad on here. Let me go back real quick. Sorry about that. I clicked on it. Sorry, so let's go ahead and click on social ad. All right, and that way we can actually access the back end of this for us to utilize immediately. All right, a couple questions came in. So if Facebook's not connected, I would try reconnecting that. I'll show you a little bit later on how you can actually go through and reset the API to update it. All right, and then another big question came in, does the KW partnership with Facebook get us better exposure? So it'll actually get you even more cost-effective results as well. All right, so I just want to give you a heads up on that. All right, so with KW being in partnership with Facebook and the fact that so many agents are utilizing this, it's going to add in a much more cost-effective option. Because if you actually did it through your own Facebook account, it's going to be basically yourself running the ads and that's it. Whereas since you're doing the ads through command, it's basically yourself and 170,000 other people running the ads. So Facebook's going to see that, and that'll get you a pretty nice discount, to say the least. All right, so I'm going to click on social ad on here. All right, and now we can actually go through and create this social ad. So you can put inside the campaign name, and this is going to be something that only you'll see. All right, so you can label it whatever you want to. So I'm going to put this in as 123 Main Street. All right, test campaign. All right, then we can actually specify the goal on here. All right, so what is your goal of this particular ad you're going to be creating? All right, do you want to advertise one listing? Are you looking to advertise multiple listings? Do you want to attract listings? All right, so are you trying to actually get new listings? Are you trying to attract buyers in this case? All right, at the end of the day, if you aren't 100% positive, you can always just click on other on here and that's perfect. All right, the biggest one that we usually see seen at the end of the day is usually the advertise listing option. All right, so if you're looking to advertise your listing, maybe you have an open house, it's just listed, it was just sold, it's under contract, you just want to get more exposure to it, whatever it may be. All right, I'm going to do one of these real quick just to help out. Now, then at the bottom, you can actually choose where this is going to run. Is it going to run on Facebook? All right, is it going to run on Instagram if you have your Instagram business account linked with your Facebook account? All right, are you going to run it on Twitter? All right, so I didn't show this, but in the back end of the settings, you can actually link up your Twitter account too. All right, but I'm just going to do it on Facebook since this is primarily the class we're teaching today on here. Now, once again, this is where you can update it though, so feel free to utilize any of them, completely up to you. All right, I'm going to click on the setup campaign option on here. Oh, I'll need to reconnect this then. Hold on one second. Let me reconnect it real quick. There we go. All right, I was already signed in, so that worked out perfect. All right, and a couple more questions came in. I promise I'm going to try and get to as many questions as possible. Sometimes it's a little bit harder to keep up with everything being asked, but I'm trying to get as many as I can in here. So if the account does say failed on it, usually if you hover over where it says failed, it'll say why it actually failed in this case. I would double check a bunch of things, and I'll talk about that very soon, actually, when we get through this, as to why ads may actually fail on there, or it may have just been an issue going on. We've seen that a couple times where there's just been a Facebook issue. All right, and you would need to create a Facebook page in order to actually utilize this. It will need to be a page. It can't just be a profile on there. So you can go to facebook.com/pages, and that'll allow you to create this immediately. All right, so back to where we are on here. So this is where we can actually pull up all the listings. Now, one thing I always like to point out, at the end of the day, if you're looking at this and you're saying, well, there's no records found, but I have 10 plus listings, or I have 3 listings, whatever it might be. All right, sometimes the listings may not display under your account, and that's okay. All right, because in this case, if you click on the show option where it says only my listings, you can then click on all listings on here instead, and it'll pull up all those listings for you to search for. And there may be a good chance that your listing is actually linked on here. All right, so I just want to let you know about that. There is a good chance it may automatically be on here. All right, so then I can actually go through and I can start to search for my particular listing that I want to utilize. All right, so if I want to, I'm going to type inside 123 Main Street. Let's see if they happen to have any test ones that we can use on here. I mean, there could actually be a 123 Main Street. You never know. All right, I'm going to use this one as an example on here that looks like a fantastic listing. Don't know if it's real or not. It could be. All right, but I'm just going to click on this as an example. All right, so I'm going to click that select option on here. All right, and then once we do that, it's going to give us a couple items. So the first thing it's going to do, once I actually have selected my listing, then it's going to ask us if we want to crop anything. This is perfect right now for the time being. But then we can actually go through and set everything up. Now, once again, once you kind of get the hang of this and you start to utilize everything on here, you can then go through and really create this as quick as possible. It won't take as long as I'm taking right now to kind of go over everything and explain it. Right? Because once you actually have that listing, as you can see, it automatically started to add inside some new info on here. So it added in from our description, the main copy. Now, if you notice, it'll automatically say recommended 125 characters or less, even though you have the ability to do up to 250 characters. Now, the reason for that is if I come over to the mobile side, you're going to notice that all of a sudden on the mobile view for Facebook, it has a ... on here, so where it actually won't be able to see all this main copy. One of the biggest pieces of advice that I can always give whenever creating these different items on here, these different ads, always use the mobile view, right? Because at the end of the day, the web feed is always going to show more, all right? It's always going to show the most amount possible. But most people are typically on their phones, on their tablets, they're on the go. All right, so in this case, if they're going to see this ad, there's a good chance it's going to be on their mobile phone. All right, so always looking at the mobile side is going to show you exactly what this ad is going to look like, so you can see what it'll primarily look like for most clients, most consumers. All right, so in this case on here, now we can actually go through and we can tweak our main copy if we want to. So I already have my name set up. This is just the name that's going to be for my own campaign. I happen to have the listing that I linked up on here that I just pulled from the KWS 2.0. All right, now I have my ad text on here. So they currently have living well as stylishly supported in the crown jewel of Allentown. All right, so since this is needing to be about 125 characters or less, all right, I'm gonna pull this out real quick. I'm just gonna stop right there. All right, so it's 130 characters. Looks like we fit in that limit on here, so that's perfect. All right, so always pull up that mobile feed so you can actually see that immediately. All right, so a bunch of questions are coming in the chat over here. So I'll talk about the lead capture form in a second. I promise I'll get to that one. All right, if your listings are not coming through quite yet, this is pulling from the MLS going into the KWS 2.0. So I would double check that your listing is active inside the MLS and that all syndication options are selected as well. So that way it'll automatically pull over. All right, I did see the one on there. So for real estate being a special category, can you target audiences more specifically? We'll get down to that at the very bottom, I promise. It's coming up very, very soon. I've seen the questions on here, so I kind of have an idea as to where we're going next on it. So I promise I'm getting to those. All right, so once we actually see the main copy, so I've got this set up. Now I'm seeing my mobile view on here. This is perfect. All right, then of course I can add inside my headline. So as you can see here, anything over 40 characters may be cut off, even though you have the ability to go up to 100 on here. All right, so maybe I just want to put inside live stylishly. That's not how you spell stylishly. That is also, I can't type today. There you go. And I don't want to say live. Let's do live. All right, so live stylishly in Allentown. All right, so I'm just going to keep it short and simple. All right, for the call to action, I always like to put some type of adjective on there, what they can actually do. All right, so in this case, live stylishly in Allentown. The good part is you can always just pull some of the information from the description. What I always tell agents, especially if you're using a listing on here, is most of the work is pretty much completed for you. You can actually go through and see that description that the agent has put inside or that you put inside for your listing, and you can start to kind of take some of that and start to really utilize it on the Facebook backend. All right, so even if you're just posting this out and you're not even doing an ad, you can actually just start to copy and paste some of that description and add it over inside the post. All right, so all that is accessible on here. All right, and then of course for the description down here, all right, as you can see, it'll only be shown in some placements. All right, so it might not display everywhere. So if I come back over here, I can see, is it gonna pop up on here from the web feed? Will it show on the mobile side? All right, and KW will actually have a shuffle option if you want to utilize any of these. So since the description is not going to actually display, not everywhere, all right, but in this case, it looks like it will display over on the mobile view. And if I go back over to the web view, it will display on this too. All right, you're allowed to have up to 250 characters on here. I usually, once again, suggest keeping it as short as possible. The goal at the end of the day is to get them to click on the button and reach out to you. All right, so in this case, if they're going to click on this button, reach out to me and fill out the lead capture form, or just contact me, whatever I may have set up for it. All right, this is going to help out tremendously to make my life a lot easier. So keeping this ad as short and simple as possible will make everything that much simpler too. Now, one other thing I didn't point out on here, you are more than welcome to utilize emojis. All right, so inside the main copy, if you want to utilize any of the emojis on here, feel free to. All right, these are basically the standard, I want to say these are the standard emojis that, at least on my iPhone, I have. I can't speak the same, unfortunately, for an Android. I have an iPhone. All right, but in this case, you can actually go through and you can search for pretty much anything you may be looking for that you want to add inside. And you're more than welcome to utilize as many emojis as you'd like to on here. All right, completely up to you. But once again, just double check whenever you're looking at these previews, how it's actually going to look on here. All right. So I'm going to say this is perfect. This is good to go. I have my main copy, which is just a very short glimpse of the actual description I want them to see. I have my headline, which is very short, right to the point, basically a call to action for them. And then I have my description. Now, once again, since this isn't going to be seen in all placements, it's not as big of an item on here. Obviously, the main copy is the main item we want to focus on. All right, so I'm going to save this ad text. Now, one big thing to note, and this is a difference between going on Facebook and going on command. Once this ad is live, on command, you can't change it. All right, on Facebook, you are able to go through and change ads at any time. It'll then go back through the process and make sure that everything is okay to actually promote. But on Facebook, if you go through and you say, hey, after looking at this, I really want to change, my text up here. All right, you can change it mid-ad, and then it'll still use the additional budget and update that with the new text. Now on command, whatever you publish is what's going to display. There's not a way to change it mid-ad. All right, so whenever the campaign is actually running, or I guess I should say mid-campaign, whenever the campaign is actually running, the only way that you can update this is if you pause it and then you duplicate it and start it again. All right, so I definitely want to let you guys know about that. All right, now the next big thing we're gonna have on here is obviously the media. So if you want to add inside some additional media, you're definitely more than welcome to. If you want to keep it short and simple and you just want to have one image on here, obviously the front of the home is 9 times out of 10 what I typically see on here. Now, a question did come up earlier, and I definitely want to point this one out. If the ad says that it failed, why did it fail? Now, in some cases, it may have actually failed, and we've seen this happen a couple times where, this is actually sending over, and much like another person in the chat said, there's a special section of the Facebook ads specifically for homes, for real estate, that you have to select. It's a special category. Now, KW has it where that's automatically selected. And we've seen it sometimes where it accidentally doesn't select it, and Facebook doesn't automatically say that the ads coming from KW Command are inside that special category, and they fail them on accident. And it's nothing that you guys did at all. It's just something that happened, and it'll update. Now, some of the other reasons that it may actually fail, if you hover over your ad whenever it's live, then whenever it says that it has failed, it'll typically show you why it may have failed. One of the biggest reasons, and I always like to point this out, is for agents that are actually utilizing their own image on here. All right, so if you upload your own image and you're not just using, like, say, for instance, in this case, the image from the listing, and you've added in your own text on the image, the text on any image on Facebook cannot be more than 20% of the image. All right, so if you add in a bunch of text with your contact info, with information on the property, all right, with beds, baths, pricing, whatever it might be, if it's taking up more than 20% of the image, or if you created your own custom image and it's taking up more than 20%, they will fail it. All right, so if you're gonna do your own image on here, and you're not gonna utilize one like from a listing, for instance, like this one doesn't have any text at all, this will be perfect. All right, if you're gonna add in your own custom image, make sure it's 20% or less text that you have on it for it to get approved. All right. Now on here, if I want to add inside additional images, I'm definitely more than welcome to. All right, you can always click on the little 3 dots over here, and we can actually go through and update this image that's currently displaying for our ad. We can always click on the add more option as well. And then you even have the option to add inside a video on here too. All right, so you can actually upload your own video. All right, so if I wanted, I can click on select media for this campaign. And then as you can see, I can add inside my video on here. I can either use a neighborhood video that I may have created through command. I can choose from my own designs. I can upload a video. I can embed a link on here. So that way, if I actually want to utilize like a YouTube video or anything like that, I can add that in. All right, now here's the one thing. All right, videos must be shorter than 10 minutes and smaller than 250 megabytes. All right, that's the one big kind of caveat on there. All right, so for videos, I usually suggest about a minute or less if you're going to have this on here, because at the end of the day, when someone's seeing this ad, if they're going to click on that, they usually want something quick and to the point. So even 30 seconds or less is what I typically suggest, a minute being the most. All right, but you can add inside any video that you want to on here, or of course, once again, you can add inside your images. All right, so I'm going to go back to the image section that I already have on here. All right. And someone just asked a question about where to get the recording. That'll have it on there for you. All right, so I'm gonna leave this as is. The only other thing that we will have on here is obviously we need to add inside our DBA logo. So if you happen to have your Market Center DBA logo, fantastic. If not, you can always find the Market Center DBA logos under kwconnect.com. All right, under kwconnect.com, once we sign in, so I'm gonna sign, okay, good, it signed me in automatically. I was about to say it should, but we'll find out. All right, you can find all of the office logos. All right, if we hover over resources on here and go to marketing, all right, so we'll hover over resources and go to marketing on here. This is where we can find all the different KW logos and more importantly, all the office logos that are accessible for us. All right, so that way you can actually search by your office name or your Market Center number to access it immediately. All right, so once we click on that, if we then go through and we can see our logos and branding on here, that's gonna be the first thing that we'll actually select. All right, then we can scroll out a little bit further. We're gonna see a good amount of logos that we can utilize if we keep scrolling down. But if you notice, the first item will be our Market Center logo. We can then come through here and we can actually search for whatever logo it is we might be looking for. All right, so if I want to come on here, say I'm looking for Office 25, I want to find the Sugar Land office location. Well, I have 25 on here. Here's the Southwest. I can download that logo immediately. All right, so if you want to add inside your own logo on here, you're definitely more than welcome to, and you can find them immediately, and I'll put this in our chat section, right, under this location. All right, because then we'll have our DBA logo, and then we can specify where do we want to actually show this. All right, do we want to show it at the bottom left or the bottom right on here? And if you notice, it's kind of hard to see. I've got it over here at the bottom left, because at the bottom right, it looks like we have courtesy of. All right, so if I move it over to the bottom right, it's gonna kind of go around that. All right, well, actually it moved over here, I apologize. All right, so we've got our little ownership statement on it. All right, so it's completely up to you. So what I usually suggest is if you're looking at the web version, just see where it'll look the best. All right, and then as you can see, we can add inside our own ownership statement if we want to. All right, so we have 50 characters we can add inside, completely up to you in this case. All right, but I'm going to keep this over at the bottom left. I feel like it looks a little bit better with this statement on here. And then I can save add media. All right, and a question did come through of, will Command ever introduce the feature to edit ads while running? On that one, I'm not 100% sure. I would highly suggest, though, requesting that over on ideas.kw.com. So that way it could hopefully mimic how Facebook has it right now, because I know that'll be a very crucial item that a lot of agents would, I can imagine, thoroughly enjoy. We usually get the question of, I just put this out, I accidentally put something incorrect, how can I fix it? And our answer has always been, oh, you'll need to pause it, wait until it ends, you'll get the refund over inside your ad pool, and then you can use it on another one. But hopefully, I would definitely suggest putting that over on ideas.kw.com, because that is a much needed idea that I know a lot of agents would definitely benefit from. All right, so I'm going to save this ad media real quick. So far, what have we done? We've gone through Command, we linked up our Facebook account, we went through the back end of campaigns. We said we're going to start a Facebook ad on here, and we're just doing a general one right now, nothing too crazy. All right, but we've added inside our listing, we added inside our text, we left it as the main media that's coming up on here just to do something quick. All right, and then we're going to have our Facebook ad. Now, this is where we can really start to actually focus on who's going to receive this. All right, so a question that came up earlier. All right, and you're spot on, Svetlana. How can you add a CTA link? We're actually about to do that next. So a question that came up earlier was, are we able to actually market to multiple people or multiple segments since we're going through the housing subcategory? All right, well, in this case, the way that KW has it set up and the way that it's set up on here, first thing first, we're going to need to choose our account. So this is where we're going to choose the account that we have linked up in our back end, and then we'll choose our page on here. All right, so I've got a couple of pages that are linked up on here, so I'm going to find mine. I wish it was alphabetized. If it was alphabetized, that would make life so much easier. All right, hopefully you won't have as many linked up on your account on here. All right, but I'm going to pull this up. There we go. Awesome, so I've Scott Leroy Marketing pulled up on here. Now, based on the type of ad that I'm actually utilizing on here, I'm able to actually see my Facebook lead generation form. All right, that is what I highly suggest utilizing. Generation form QS. And I want to get you guys the direct link for this. Perfect. All right, utilizing this Facebook lead generation form, this is what's going to allow when your ad displays and someone clicks on the Learn More option, the Contact Us button, whatever we put in as the CTA on here. When they click on that, it's then going to auto-populate their information from Facebook. All right, so whenever they've actually gone through and they've filled out their Facebook profile, all right, here's their email, here's their phone number they updated. Now, back to the question that came in earlier of, is there a way that we can actually change this information on here? Not quite yet. All right, so whenever you actually go through and you utilize the Facebook lead generation form, this is the method that all the agents are utilizing in order to get as many leads as possible. All right, now it's going to ask for simple stuff. It's going to ask for their first name, their last name, their email, and their phone number. Unfortunately, there's not a way to add inside other items that are required. So we can't add in a field that says, what's your typical bed and bath range? What's your price range? All right, where are you looking to purchase in? All right, if it's for, what's my home worth type page? What is the address of your home on there? All right, so in this case, this lead generation form is going to ask the main items you'll need: first name, last name, email, phone number, so you'll receive that. And when the lead comes through, it'll automatically display in your contact section with an L next to the name. So it's going to be an L with a circle around the L to the right of the name. That's a brand new lead. All right, so always use the Facebook lead generation form. Now you can use the site or landing page option on here. If you use this, then you can actually add in, it's going to have the CTA link on here. And whenever I direct someone back to my site, this is the page that I want them to go to. All right, so this is going to get as many eyeballs as possible looking at our ad and potentially clicking back over to our website. Now, if you want to get as many leads as possible, utilizing the lead generation form is going to be the primary option on here. Now, in this case, just put that inside our chat section. If your lead generation form is coming up invalid, all right, I just put over inside the chat section where you'll need to actually accept the terms of service in order to utilize the lead generation form option. All right, so make sure that under your Facebook account, all right, so if I go over here, I click on, this is the link that I just put inside the chat, and I click on it. All right, now it's going to say lead ad terms. We want to make sure that we've accepted that for our particular page we're trying to work on. All right. Now, once we have that completed, then we can actually choose the call to action label. Do we want to use learn more, sign up, apply now? 9 times out of 10, I always suggest utilizing learn more in this case. Obviously, if you're trying to get them to, fill something out and then they'll receive like a free ebook or anything like that, well, maybe sign up might be better. All right, but I always utilize learn more or sometimes contact us if it's going through Facebook directly. But then you can put inside the follow-up destination URL. Now, whenever they fill out this actual form on here, so they fill out the lead generation form, this is where the follow-up is going to take them to. So once they fill out the form, then it's going to give them a button they can click on that'll take them over to our website. You can then redirect them to any page you want. Now, what I usually suggest in this case, though, is redirecting them back over to your website or to a landing page you created, all right, that's about this property or about this event or about whatever you're trying to advertise. Now, you can make that landing page very quickly over inside the consumer section. All right, so you can always click on consumer. But what I usually suggest instead, let me see if I can pull this up real quick and try this one out. Oh, and the first part, 123 South Main Street. Let's see if it'll pull up real quick on here when searching. Awesome, there we go. All right, so once I actually pull this up, so here's the actual property. I guess this is a legitimate property. That's awesome. There are main streets. I shouldn't be that surprised. So here we go. So once I actually search for that on my site, I can click on this link and I could use this link to drive people back over to my website. All right, so in this case, I could say, here's the actual property. Here's the URL that whenever they fill out this lead capture form, it's then going to say, hey, you can now click on this. It's going to allow them to go back over to wherever I want to direct them to. Well, in this case, I want to direct them over to my website. So now I can put down here, all right, well, here's the URL I want to take them to. So once they fill out this form, it'll say, go to my website to learn more. Now they can actually learn more about the property. Or you could even create a landing page to choose that as well. You'll have unlimited options at the end of the day because this follow-up destination URL can go anywhere. All right, as long as you have a URL, you can point that there. All right, so do you want to send them over to your command site? Do you want to send them to a landing page? Do you want to send them over to a squeeze page you've created somewhere else? Do you want to send them over to your own custom website? You can do whatever you like. All right, completely up to you on there. All right, and a question just came in about capturing an address. Unfortunately, there's not a way to do that quite yet on here. The lead generation form option will only allow for the first name, last name, email, and phone number right now. But I would definitely suggest requesting that on ideas.kitty.com to see if they'll allow you to customize that lead generation form in the future too. All right, so now we have our type that we're going to utilize, whether it's lead generation form or if we just want to get as many eyeballs seeing this ad as possible, we can utilize the site or landing page feature. We have our call to action and our follow-up destination URL set up. Now we can actually target everything. All right, so right now it's currently targeting pretty much anyone and everyone that has a Facebook account, all right, 20 miles outside of Allentown. So it's going to put a pin right inside the middle of Allentown and then do a 20-mile circular radius. All right, so if I click on this Use Custom Settings section, though, I can now go through and I can actually customize this even further. So I can target my database if I want to. So if I want to go through and I actually want to target my database, I can pull it up based on any list or audiences that I may have created. And then it'll actually target based on the email I have inside Command or the Facebook URL that I have too. So if I just want to target people that are inside my contacts, I have that ability. All right. More than likely, you're probably going to target a custom audience. All right. So in this case, you can specify the location and then you can specify the city. All right. Since this is inside Allentown, New Jersey for the property, I'm going to leave that as is. And then you can specify the radius on here too in miles. All right. The lowest you can go is 15. All right. So if you only want to do as low as possible, you don't want to just do, obviously can't just do the city only. We can do Allentown with a 15-mile radius. All right, remember, this is going to be a circular radius. So it's going to be a circle right around the center point of Allentown in this case. All right, that's perfect. But the one thing you want to do, and even though this says optional on here, I would highly suggest making this mandatory on every ad. All right, as you can see, increase, refine your audience by targeting interest. All right, so when you're actually sending out this ad, you can target people that like specific pages. So if I click on add or change interest on here, I can go through and I can start to target based on what their interest may be. All right, do I want to target particular people that enjoy accounting? Do I want to target people that enjoy acting, advertising? All right, it's all alphabetized on here. So I can type inside home, for instance, and I can see what comes up. All right, do they enjoy home? All right, there's almost 1 billion people on here that just enjoy homes. All right, I can see, do they enjoy home business? Is this home over here suitable? And based on the square footage on here, I can imagine it's suitable for a home office. So maybe I want to say home business on here. Maybe I want to go after people that are looking to potentially repair their home. And instead of repairing, maybe it's just time to get out and purchase a new home. All right. I can start to add inside as many of these as I want to, and you'll have two options on here. You'll have the or the and. Or on here means that any of these that I'm selecting for the interest, this person can be interested in, and it'll display that ad inside their backend. All right, so it's going to show it on their timeline, on their news. Sorry, not timeline, on their news. Yeah, on their news feed. Geez, I didn't think about that for a second. I'm going blank. Now, if I click and on here, that means that it's only going to show to people that have all of these that I've selected. All right, so in this case, I usually suggest just utilizing or. All right, because then at the end of the day, whenever I'm targeting this, it's going after anyone. So if they have home as an interest, but they don't have home repair as an interest, it'll still display for them. All right, if they have home business, but they don't have home, same thing, it's still going to display. Now, you can be as specific as possible on here and add in as many interests as you'd like. I usually suggest adding in maybe about 10 or so, bare minimum, just to get as many as you can here. Maybe real estate investing is one that you want to add in. All right, based on this particular property, I'm going to search for luxury on here because it looks like it's close to 1 million. So I'm going to add in luxury vehicle, luxury property. All right, and then there are certain ones that you can add in too. So I can search for homes.com. Maybe I want to show this to people that are actually a fan of homes.com. They may already be looking on here. All right, I can search for realtor.com as well. All right, I can do Zillow on here too. All right, so there's a bunch of different items that you can actually add in. And if you notice, it'll have it segmented. You have Zillow, but then you also have Zillow or Premier Agent. Well, unless you're trying to advertise to another agent, I'd highly suggest only going after, in this case, Zillow. Or if you noticed on realtor.com, I believe this is what the other one was, it had the pro version of it on it here. All right, so that way you can add inside some additional interests that are going to go after other consumers, all right, not agents in this case. Yeah, so the question just came in, and I was actually going to let you know about that too. All right, so the question came in for a 15-mile radius. If you select interest, why is it still showing million users, not the actual filtering? So on here, that's 100% correct. So inside a 15-mile radius of Allentown, New Jersey, there's not potentially close to 1 billion people there. Right, so this is actually showing the estimated audience of everyone if you search for pretty much anyone and everyone on Facebook. All right, so in this case, I always kind of say, take the estimated audience with a grain of salt on there. Obviously, the bigger the better because you're going to go after a larger potential group. All right, but I'm not going to be able to show this ad to 868 million people. All right, it's going to be of those 868,808,550 people, how many live within the designation of Allentown and 15 miles? All right, so it could be 100, it could be 1,000, it could be 10,000. All right, I'm not sure on here. All right, but that way it'll just be able to go after those specific interests on here. So yeah, definitely take the estimated audience with a grain of salt on there. All right, so I have 9 right now. That's okay for the time being. So I'm going to save this Facebook ad. All right, now the final thing we'll want to do before we can actually publish this ad is then we'll want to put inside our budget and duration. Now, if you notice on here, it says we recommend a 10-day campaign and a budget of $1 per channel per day. The minimum you can do per Facebook, all right, is $1 per day. All right, so you can't do anything below $1 per day. So if you say I want to spend $10 and I want it to go over 20 days, well, you're going to need to spend either $20 or you'll need it to go over 10 days. All right, now the main one on here, and ironically enough, it says we recommend 10 days with $1 per channel. All right, and then it shows on here the standard one that comes up of $30 over 10 days. All right, now you can go through and you can specify whatever your budget may be. But remember, at the bare minimum, it has to be at least $1 per day. And a lot of people always ask you, what's the best budget that a lot of people will utilize? What's the best bang for your buck? And really, it's different for every area, and it's different for every interest in what you're trying to advertise. All right, no two areas are the same. All right, someone may be able to get 15 leads from a $10 budget, whereas someone might spend $30 and only get 4 leads. All right, so it really depends on what you're trying to advertise. All right, now what I do suggest though is at the bare minimum, at least doing a week. All right, so at least do 7 days. Now that, I say that, but if you're doing something that's time sensitive, so if you're doing an open house, if you want to actually advertise a testimonial and you're trying to get more listings or anything like that, well, then you might not want to do it for an entire week, all right? Especially with an open house where it's going to have that hard stop on the date, all right? But in this case, if you can do it for at least a week, that's perfect. 10 days is fantastic, all right? So that way you can really start to kind of go through it and troubleshoot it, all right? And see what worked, what didn't. Is this the ad that I want to utilize? The other thing that I always like to point out that's a little bit different on here than it is over on Facebook is that whenever you launch this ad, the budget you're using is going to be for this ad only. All right, it's not going to be the budget for the entire ad set where you can have multiple ads inside there. It's going to be for this particular ad. So that way, if you're doing multiple different ads and you're kind of testing everything out, well, maybe start with a smaller budget. So maybe I want to start with just, $20 for each ad. All right, and then as you can see, it'll be $2 per day on here. Now, the other big item is you have to start at least that next day. If I try to start today, it's going to say the date has to be greater than today. All right, so I have to at least start that ad the next day. All right, so completely up to you as to how you want to do this. But if I click Save Duration and Budget, then we have everything completed. All right, we've gone through, we've named the campaign, we've linked up our listing, we added in our ad text, we added in our ad media, we linked up Facebook, put inside the Facebook lead capture form. All right, we put inside our call to action and where we're actually going to redirect people to. We put inside those specific interests. We add in our duration on here too. All right, so then once that's completed, I could publish the ad, or if I want to come back to it, I can always save it as a draft. So I'm going to save this as a draft real quick. All right, and just a heads up, when you click Publish Campaign on there, it's going to charge you. All right, so just watch out for that one. All right, so then I can actually see all the different ads that I've gone through and all the drafts I've created. All right, now once this actually comes up, this is where you're going to be able to see inside your campaigns under paid ads, your particular ad. So we're going to see the actual ad we created. We can see the preview of it. We'll see the status on here. So this is where you can see, like right now it's in draft status. Is it inactive? Is it pending? Was it denied or did it fail? All right, what's the duration of it? And then we're going to have these different analytic options. So we're going to have the CPM. That stands for cost per milli. All right, cost per milli is the cost associated with this ad for 1,000 people seeing your ad. All right, 1,000 different times your ad was seen. Cost per click on here is the amount that it's going to cost each time someone clicks on your ad. Did they click on it to fill out the lead capture form? Did they click on it to go over to your Facebook page, whatever it may have been? All right, and then of course the CPLC is the cost per lead click, all right, or cost per link click, I think is what they actually call it on here. All right, that's going to be the actual cost per each lead that you actually receive. All right, so if you're utilizing that Facebook lead capture form, this is where you can actually find all the leads on here. All right, then you'll be able to see your total spent and the total amount that you have on here too. So that way you can keep track of, how much has already been spent, how many are coming through, how much do I have left. All right, and then we'll be able to see those impressions. The impressions are how many people have seen your ad. Leads captured on here. All right, how many leads have actually been captured from that lead capture form and then now are available over inside the contact section. And of course, how much have we spent on here too. All right. So that is how simple it is to actually create the ad. I know obviously I spent about 50 minutes going over creating an ad on here, but the good part is once you get some practice in and you started everything, you're going to get it down to a science where you can actually start to create these ads within 5 minutes, within 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes. All right, it'll be very easy to go through and update it. And if you want to go through and rerun one, well, on the right-hand side, you can click on the little 3 dots and you can always duplicate that campaign too. All right, so you have all those different options that are accessible on here. All right, so to go back over what we kind of started at the very beginning. All right, so we first signed into Command on here. The first thing we did before we even jumped into the campaign section is we clicked on our name and we went to settings. All right, always double check that your Facebook account is linked up properly. Now, if you're having some issues with your Facebook account linking over to your campaigns, all right, then on here, once you're under Facebook, so I'm gonna go under Facebook real quick. I don't trust anyone on my Facebook, so I don't want anything to show on my news feed on there. Usually it's just pictures of homes and children and whatnot, but you never know. All right, so once we're on here, if you ever need to reset that, click the drop down at the top right up here where you can reset your API and go to settings and privacy. All right, now the reason I suggest that at the end of the day is if you're ever having any issues where all of a sudden you're on your back end of Command and it's not working properly, it's not syncing correctly, doing a hard refresh will help out tremendously. All right, so once we click on that, then we can click on the settings option on here. All right, and now we can go down to our business integrations. Business integrations are basically who on Facebook did we allow to have API access so they can start to utilize our Facebook account, our Facebook page. All right, so once I click on business integrations, then I can see all the additional active ones I currently have on here. And I believe they're mainly social media like profile. As you can see, some permissions have expired. I need to go through and update that. All right, but then I can see on here Keller Williams API, October 28th, 2020. So then I can actually remove this completely and then re-add my Facebook account to the settings. So if you're ever having any issues, right, any issues at all where your ads aren't working, maybe something's not actually displaying properly inside campaigns, reset the API on here under the business integrations and relink your Facebook account over to Command, and more than likely that'll fix everything up. All right, so we did that all under the settings section, and then we immediately went over to our campaigns. All right, under campaigns, this is where we're actually able to go through and create our campaign immediately to update it for the listing campaign. I feel like I keep saying immediately on there, so I apologize. All right, so once we did that, then you can actually see the paid ads on here. And of course, make sure you have your payment added in for that credit card. But then we clicked on create a new campaign, and this is how we accessed it under our social ad. This then walked us through creating the type of goal for our campaign. Where do we want it to run? What are we gonna name it? And that allowed us to create this ad on here. All right, so that was how simple it was to just get that ad up and running immediately. All right, and a question just came through actually on here. If you're doing a practice ad, how do you delete it? If you click on the 3 dots on the right-hand side, you can click that archive campaign option. That'll help to archive that a little bit quicker on here. All right, so that is gonna be it for our Facebook ad campaign class for November 16th. All right, so a couple questions came in on here. CPLC is cost per link click or cost per lead click. It's technically cost per link click whenever they actually click on the link that's on your ad, but if you're utilizing the lead capture form, that'll link up with how many people are actually coming over for the leads, and that'll show the lead amount on here too. All right. And then once someone adds their contact on the lead form, does it automatically add a contacts as a lead? It does. All right, so that'll automatically add them over inside your contact section on here. And one of the quickest methods to actually view those leads, you'll be able to click on the leads under the campaign backend. But one of the quickest methods to see it, so I don't have any leads on here, otherwise it'd have an L with a circle around it, is you can actually click on the smart views on here. and then you can use the Kelly campaigns option, and this will show contacts that are associated with your campaigns. All right, that'll show all new leads that are associated with any campaigns that you're running on here. So this Kelly campaign smart view inside your contacts will be one of your best friends. There you go. All right, so that is going to be it for the end of this class today. And then how do you fix up the destination URL? Once it's active, there's not a way to fix up that destination URL, unfortunately. You'd have to go through and pause that campaign and then redo it on there. All right. All right, so unfortunately, that's going to be it. If you guys have any other questions, though, I know a lot of questions are coming in. Got another class I'm teaching right now, actually, so I'll have to hop off. All right, but if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Remember, Scott@scottleroymarketing.com. That'll come over to me directly, or scottleroymarketing.com. You can access us on there as well, too. And this class was recorded today as well, so if you want to rewatch it, you're definitely more than welcome to. All right, it'll be accessible a little bit later on tonight at slmtraining.com. All right, perfect. All right, well, have a fantastic day today. I look forward to seeing you guys in our next training class. We have one tomorrow that's going to purely go over the K2B Command platform, where everything's located. And I hope to see you guys very soon. All right, have a great day today.